Hello everyone, welcome to English Literature. Today's chapter is from the book First Flight, chapter 10. Today's chapter is Sermon at Benares by Betty Renshaw. Sermon at Benares. The Sermon at Benares was first published as a chapter in Betty Renshaw's book Values and Voices. This chapter focuses on Lord Buddha's first public sermon in Benares, Varanasi, where he taught Kisa Gotami about the universal truth of death and the importance of accepting sorrow. The Sermon at Benares revolves around the theme of the transitory nature of life and the acceptance of death as an inevitable reality. There are some other ideas that the chapter focuses on, like attachment leads to suffering, acceptance of loss and the overcoming grief, path to peace by embracing the truth of the inevitability of death and the practicing of detachment, spiritual enlightenment by accepting the true nature of life. So the major idea or the theme of this story is to make us believe that the life is transitory. So it deals with the transitory nature of life and the acceptance of death as an inevitable reality. So life is not permanent, it's transitory. You have to die. If you are born, you will die, and you have to accept it. If you do not accept it, you cannot live. You have to accept the reality of death to lead a peaceful life. So some other ideas like attachment leads to suffering, acceptance of loss, path to peace is by embracing the truth, and spiritual enlightenment when you accept everything. These are the various topics that the subject or the chapter covers. This is the statue of Gautam Buddha. Among many of his sayings, he has also said, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." So leave the past, don't think about the future. Live the moment that you have at hand. Live the present moment. This is Gautam Buddha. Since the name of the chapter is Sermon at Benares and this chapter deals with Gautam Buddha, it is very essential that we know about Gautam Buddha. So Gautam Buddha was born as Siddhartha Gautama. His real name was Siddhartha Gautama. He was born a prince into an aristocratic family in Lumbini, Nepal, around 563 BC. That is before Christ. Deeply moved by the suffering in the world, he renounced his palace and royal comforts to search for truth and inner peace. So he was deeply moved by the suffering of the world, but he had a princely life, a comfortable life. So he left everything. He left the palace, he left the comfort in search of truth and inner peace. He spent years practicing asceticism and meditation, and eventually he attained enlightenment at Bodh Gaya. After achieving enlightenment, he was known as Buddha, which means the enlightened one. So Gautam Buddha, Gautam the name, Buddha means the enlightened one. He found the religion of Buddhism. So Gautam Buddha was the founder of Buddhism. His core teachings focus on ending suffering and attaining nirvana, which is a state of freedom from suffering. So Buddhism teaches attainment of nirvana by following the path of non-violence. So he teaches, focuses on ending of suffering and attaining nirvana by following a path of right living and mindfulness, which includes the eightfold path. So Gautam Buddha led eightfold paths to attain nirvana or moksha, it is called. The eightfold path in Buddhism consists of right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So by following this eightfold path, Buddhist can he is the founder of Buddhism, we can go with Buddhist, but this is the process to attain nirvana according to Gautam Buddha. He also established a monastic order, the Sangha, through which his teachings were propagated throughout the world. Now the first sermon at Benares, around an hour from Varanasi, there is a small town called Sarnath, where Siddhartha Gautama had his first sermon to the world, or Gautam Buddha delivered his first sermon. Since the name of the chapter is Sermon at Benares, how can we proceed without knowing about Benares? So Benares is the former name for Varanasi. It is in India, a city in Uttar Pradesh, considered one of the oldest living cities in the world and the spiritual heart of Hinduism. This city is very famous among Hindus. It has great importance. So it is the spiritual heart of Hinduism. It is a major pilgrimage site where Hindus believe dying and bathing in the sacred Ganges river, or the Ganga river, leads to liberation from the cycle of death and rebirth. So dipping in the holy river of Ganga or dying here is considered to be a path to moksha or nirvana, free from the cycle of death and rebirth. The city is home to thousands of temples, including the Kashi Vishwanath temple, and is known for its traditional cremation ceremonies performed on the banks of the Ganga river. So on its banks cremation goes on because people believe if you die here you get moksha or freedom from the circle of birth and death. The name change, the name from Benares to Varanasi was formalized in 1910 by the British authorities in India, though the original name of the city was Varanasi. So the real name of the city was Varanasi, and it was also known as Kashi. Still there are people who refer to Benares as Kashi. So for thousands of years it is referred to as, the original name was Varanasi. The colloquial name Benares became a very common derivative of the ancient name Varanasi over time. So the local language from Varanasi, it came to be known as Benares. This is the history of Benares. The Sermon at Benares. Sermon is religious talk or the preachings. It is usually when a priest reads from the Bible at a church. So the sermon basically is religious talk or the preachings. Now Sermon at Benares. Gautam Buddha from 563 BC to 483 BC. He began his life as a prince named Siddhartha Gautam in northern India. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures, and 4 years later he had returned home to marry a princess. They had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. At about the age of 25, the prince, heretofore shielded from the sufferings of the world, while out hunting, chanced upon a sick man, then an aged man, a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. These sights so moved him that he at once went out into the world to seek enlightenment concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. So, Gautam Buddha, he began his life as a prince. He was a prince. He was born to King Suddhodana Tharu and Queen Maya. He was sent to school at the age of 12 to read Hindu scriptures, and then 4 years later when he returned home, he married a princess. His wife is Princess Yashodhara, and they had a son named Rahul, and they lived for 10 years, befitted royalty. So as a king, so he enjoyed royal life for 10 years after marriage. At about the age of 25, The prince, heretofore shielded from the sufferings of the world, while out hunting, chanced upon a sick man, aged man, funeral procession, and then a monk. So, till now, prince was not allowed to leave the four walls of the kingdom, or he was not allowed to see any sorrow, as there had been a prediction before. So, he was not allowed to see any kind of a sad thing. He was always happy. Whatever he saw was good. Whatever he felt was good. He never had sorrow around him. But one fine day, when he went out to hunt, he met by chance a sick man, and then he saw an aged man, then he saw a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. So seeing all these sorrows, sickness, then old age, then death, he was moved, and he decided that the world is not a happy place. So he left the world, left the palace, and went into the world to seek enlightenment, or to seek ultimate knowledge concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. This is how King Siddharth, or Siddharth Gautam, Prince Siddharth, left the place in search of enlightenment or true knowledge. So after seeing the four sides and leaving the palace, he wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a peepal tree, where he vowed to stay until enlightenment came. Enlightenment came after 7 days. He renamed the tree as Bodhi tree, or the tree of wisdom. Buddhi tree or Bodhi tree, the tree of wisdom. So for 7 years he wandered here and there, and then meditated a lot, and then under a peepal tree he sat for enlightenment, and then he got it after within 7 days, and he named the tree as the Bodhi tree, or the tree of wisdom, and began to teach and to share his new understanding. So he began his preaching, that is sermons. At that point he became known as the Buddha. So after he started delivering teachings, he was called the Buddha, which means the awakened or the enlightened, because he was enlightened by then. The Buddha preached his first sermon at the city of Benares, most holy of the dipping places on the river Ganges or the Ganga. So this is considered as the most holy place. Benares, old name Varanasi, or also known as Kashi. The sermon had been preserved and is given here. So whatever he taught at Benares or Varanasi, it was preserved and is reflected, or is given in the chapter. It reflects Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. So through this story we learn about Buddha's wisdom, the knowledge about the inscrutable kind of suffering. In this story, here we learn about the inexpressible or intolerable, or something which is mysterious, unfathomable kind of suffering, which cannot be touched, which cannot be dealt with very easily. Now here the story begins. Kisa Gotami had an only son, and he died. In her grief, she carried the dead child to all her neighbors, asking them for medicine, and the people said, "She has lost her senses. The boy is dead." Listen, before continuing, it is very important to know one thing. Sorrow is subjective. A thing which is sorrowful or sad for me need not be the same for you. It depends the way we deal with it, with the sorrow, how we handle the sorrow. In the story, Kisa Gautami had an only son, only one son, and the son was dead. He died. In her grief, now she was so sad that she held the child, the dead child, in her arms and began asking her neighbors for medicine so that the son could regain life. And people said, "Oh, she is mad. She has lost her senses. The boy is dead. How can a dead boy be made alive or brought back to life?" At length, Kisa Gotami met a man who replied to her request. Now, while moving from house to house, people to people, person to person, she came across a man. And the man said, I cannot give thee medicine for thy child, but I know a physician who can. So that thee and thy are archaic English or old English, which means thee means you and thy means yours. So the man said, I cannot give thee medicine for thy child, but I know a physician who can. But no, I know a doctor who can. And the girl said, pray tell me, sir, who is it? And the man replied, go to Sakyamuni, the Buddha. So the lady said, please tell me who it is. I'll go to him, I'll beg for my son's life. And the man said, don't worry, go to Sakyamuni, the Buddha. He will help you. Now Buddha is called as the Sakyamuni because Shakya refers to the tribe or the clan to which his family belongs. And his origin as a prince from the Shakya kingdom. So he is called the Shakya one. And Muni means the sage or ascetic. So Shakya Muni. Now the man said, go to Shakya Muni or the Buddha and he will help you. Kisa Gotami repaired to the Buddha and cried. So she went to Buddha and cried. Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy. So, Sir, Master, God, please give me the medicine that will cure my boy. She knew the boy is dead deep in her heart, but she wanted the boy to be alive. And she says, dear Sir, please, God, please help me. Please give a medicine that will cure my boy. The Buddha answered. Now, Buddha answered, I want a handful of mustard seed. And when the girl in her joy promised to procure it, the Buddha added, the mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, a husband, parent or friend. So the Buddha answered casually that, okay, don't worry, I'll do it, but I want a handful of mustard seed. Now mustard seed is something which is easily available in every household. So Buddha said, go and bring a handful of mustard seed. And the girl was very happy. Okay, I'll bring mustard seed and my boy will come back to life. But the Buddha added, now this is the catch. He added, he said, the mustard seed you bring must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, a husband, parent or a friend. So that house must not have been visited by death. So nobody would be death in that house. From that house you have to bring the mustard seed, a house where nobody had ever died. So Gautami, when she cried, Buddha said, get me a handful of mustard seed from a house where nobody had ever died. Now poor Kisa Gautami now went from house to house and the people pitied her and said, so people felt sorry for her. And they replied, here is mustard seed, take it. So when she narrated everything, the people said, okay, take this mustard seed. But when she asked, did a son or daughter or father or mother die in your family? So is there anybody who had died in your family? They answered her, alas, the living are few, but the dead are many. Do not remind us of our deepest grief. So when she narrated her whole story, the people were ready to provide the mustard seed. But when she asked about the condition, the people denied. And they say, don't tell us, don't remind me, let us not recall the dead scenes. There are many people who are dead in our family, living are few, but the line of dead, it's many, we cannot count. And there was no house but some beloved one had died in it. So in every household there was at least one person who was dead. Kisa Gautami became weary and hopeless and sat down at the wayside watching the lights of the city as they flickered up were extinguished again. So she was now very tired. She got nothing. No house where death hasn't ever visited. So everywhere people had died. Now she became very tired and hopeless, desperate. What to do? And she sat down at the wayside beside the road and watched the city, the lights of the city as they flickered, as they went on and off. So they flickered up, they lighted and then they extinguished. She saw. And at last the darkness of the night reigned everywhere, and finally slowly everywhere it was dark. And she considered the fate of men. Now she sat there thinking, reflecting on the destiny or the luck, the fate of men, that their lives flicker up and are extinguished again, that they are born and they die. And she thought to herself, so there is an epiphany, sudden realization. How selfish am I in my grief! Death is common to all, yet in this valley of desolation there is a path that leads him to immortality, who has surrendered all selfishness. Now she says, the sudden realization comes to her and she said, oh, I had become so selfish. Death is common to all. Everybody is bound to die. All those who are born will or must face death. Yes, in this valley of desolation. Yet, in this lonely world, there is a path. In this valley of sadness, there is a way that leads him to immortality. Still there is a chance for a person to be immortal, to be free. And how to gain freedom? Surrender all the suffering. So you have to accept it. If you don't accept, you cannot live. You can attain immortality. You can be free only by accepting. You have to accept everything. That is the sudden realization that Kisa Gautami had. Now the Buddha said, now he is saying, the life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain. So the living, they are bound to have a troubled life, a short life, and tolerate a lot of pain. The four sides, if you remember. For there is not any means by which those that have been born can avoid dying. So there is no way in which a person who is born can avoid dying. After reaching old age, there is death. You have to die. You can't say no. Of such a nature are living beings. So living beings, they will die. They will become old. They will suffer and finally they will die. It is a fact. And he gives here, you have two similes, comparisons. Buddha says, as ripe fruits are early in danger of falling, so mortals when born are always in danger of death. As all earthen vessels made by the potter end in being broken, so is the life of mortals. So both young and adult, both those who are fools and those who are wise, all fall into the power of death. All are subject to death. So whether you are a rich man or a poor man, if you are a beggar, if you are a prince, everyone will die. A fool or a wise man, everyone, they are helpless before death, in the power, in the hands of death. All are subject to death. And he has two comparisons. He compares the ripe fruits. So the sooner they ripe, the sooner they fall. So they are also in the danger of falling, as mortals are in the danger of dying. Similarly, the potter makes earthen vessels, however beautiful or strong they may be, they will also break. They end up breaking. So is the life of mortals. Whether you are wise or you are a fool, you are a young or an adult, you will die. Of those who overcome by death depart from life, a father cannot save his son, nor kinsmen their relations. Mark, while relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply, one by one mortals are carried off, like an ox that is led to the slaughter. So the world is afflicted with death and decay. Therefore, the wise do not grieve, knowing the terms of the world. So he says, everybody will die. It's a truth. And nobody knows when. Also, if people, those who overcome by death, when they depart from life, they will go. No father can save a son. Relatives can't save each other. No kinsmen their relations. Then he says, mark, notice, while relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply, one by one mortals are carried off, like an ox that is led to the slaughter. So maybe relatives, parents, they all cry. They are weeping, lamenting. One by one you will be carried off like an ox is led to the slaughterhouse. So the world is afflicted with death and decay. Therefore, the wise do not grieve, knowing the terms of the world. Those who are wise, they do not sit and they do not sulk and they do not cry, because you have to accept this is the reality of life. Moreover, if we will not accept that death, it will be impossible to keep living. Sorrow, it will kill. That is why it is wise, and the wise, they do not grieve. They understand that it is true, it is a fact, it will happen. That is why they accept and live according to the rules of the world. Buddha further states that not from weeping nor from grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. On the contrary, his pain will be greater and his body will suffer. He will make himself sick and pale. Yet the dead are not saved by his lamentation. He who seeks peace should draw out the arrow of lamentation and complaint and grief. He who has drawn out the arrow and has become composed will obtain peace of mind. He who has overcome all sorrow will become free from this sorrow and be blessed. So Buddha says, see, if you weep, if you grieve, if you will suffer, it will not give you peace of mind. You will not gain peace. On the contrary, in the way, weeping and suffering will bring you pain. Your body will suffer. That is true. If the son dies and the mother or the wife or the child, they go on crying, the dead will not come back to life. The dead will be dead, but in their grief, you will become sick and pain and you will suffer. You will have a life worse than the dead. They are free now. Yet the dead are not saved by this lamentation. So he who seeks peace. So if you want peace, you should draw out the arrow of lamentation and complaint and grief. You should stop doing it. You don't have to lament, don't have to cry, don't have to complain, don't have to go on living a life of sorrow. Don't grieve. He who has drawn out the arrow has become composed, will obtain peace of mind. So in order to obtain peace of mind, you will have to let the people go. Let the loved ones go. Let the dead be dead. He who has overcome all sorrow will become free from sorrow and be blessed. So if you will overcome, if you will go above all sorrows, you will be free. You will be blessed. You will attain nirvana or moksha. I have already told, sorrow is subjective and the time will differ. If you take 1 day, 2 days, years, it's okay, but the sooner you forget, the sooner you bring joy to your life. Now the source is from Values and Voices by Betty Renshaw, a college reader. Now college reader 1975 refers to the several books published or compiled around that year. Here it is around the year of 1975, which is Voices and Values and Voices. Now the meanings related to this chapter: sacred is holy, scriptures holy and pious books, befitted, appropriate and proper. Befitted, royalty means appropriate according a life of king or the life of royalty. Royalty related to kings, befitted royalty, deserved royalty. Heretofore, till then, before this point, shield, save and protect, sufferings, sorrows, chanced upon, came across by chance, it so happened to be. Funeral procession, the procession of a dead man taken to the burial or cremation ground. Monk is a hermit, alms is begging, moved here is shook. Seek is to find the desired things, enlightenment, divine knowledge, state of having got or realized high spiritual knowledge. Concerning, connecting with or related to. Witness, see for yourself. Vow, take a pledge or swear to something. Dipping places, places like the Ganga where people bathe by dipping into water. Preserved, kept safe from harm and encroachments. Reflect is to show and display. Wisdom is prudence, intelligence of right and wrong. Inscrutable means which can't be understood or unfathomable. Only means single or with none other, neighbor, person dwelling beside or near you. Thee is you, thy is yours. These are archaic English or old English. Lost her senses, as if gone mad, not understanding the realities to behave sensibly. At length, at last, physician, consulting doctor, repaired is means here is went to. Pity, sympathy, mustard seed, seeds of mustard plant, procure, obtain or get or achieve by efforts. Remind is refresh the memory to make a recall of things in mind. Grief, suffering, great pain of heart and mind. Weary is tired. Hopeless, without hope, in despair. Wayside, the edge of road. Flickered, lighted dimly or shown by flash. Extinguished, put out or exhausted. Read, here is spread out. So darkness, read, darkness spread out. Considered, thought deeply or pondered or reflect. Fate is destiny. Selfish is chiefly concerned with oneself. Valley of desolation means land or the world of sorrows and sufferings where none is spared of sorrows. Everyone suffers. Immortality, not affected by death or deathlessness. Surrender, submit or give up. Mortal, those who are bound to die. So all men are mortal, animals included. Brief, so all living are mortal. Brief, short and of a little duration. Avoid, escape or ignore. Ripe, mature and fully grown. Earthen vessels, pots and utensils made of mud or clay pots. Potter, person who makes earthen vessels. Subject, it is mentioned here is under. Grieving, to feel sorrow. Depart, to go away or leave the place. Kinsmen, relatives. Mark, it is look. Lamenting is grieving. Afflicted with, affected by. Obtain is to get. Contrary, opposite. Decay, rot. Pale, yellow due to weakness. Composed, calm and controlled in oneself. Overcome, conquered or controlled by. Blessed is having got blessings from God. This is the meaning of blessed. So that is all we have learned from the chapter or the wisdom of Buddha, that death is inevitable. You cannot escape death and you have to accept it. If you accept that, you will be happy and live a life of peace. This was all about the chapter. For any other chapter, you can use the comment section. Don't forget to like the video. Please subscribe. Thank you for watching.